Well, hello everybody, and welcome to today's edition of Beyond the Ordinary Show. Today, y'all, we're gonna be talking about the glorious empath, and glorious being the key word. We're gonna tap into your sensitivities and a capacity that sometimes feels like a superpower and sometimes feel like it's not quite the superpower that we like it to be. But there's a reason why all this is coming through. And our guest today, Shelley Young, who's the owner of Trinity Esoterics, where she's worked as a hypnotherapist, a teacher, and author, spiritual advisor, and who's also the internationally recognized channel for Archangel Gabriel for over 19 years, is joining us. And she's going to take us into a deep discussion. We'll get into Q&A as well as an amazing special offer that, of course, we'll get into. But we're going to talk about why it's time for empaths to embrace who they really are and their sensitivities. And this is a whole nother layer of conversations than what we've had in the past. It's like there's something new, even in the essence of that, that's coming to life. Uh, Gabriel tells Shelley that there's no more important role on the planet right now than that of the empath. And we're going to talk about that. We're also going to get into the discovery of the empath grid and so much more. So I hope that y'all have space to sit back, relax, receive, be in the fluidity of conversation with us and the transmission that is coming through Shelley and Archangel Gabriel. Again, like I said earlier, we'll open up to Q&A. If you want to ask your personal question, raise your hand, type your question in the chat box. And with that, Shelley, welcome back to BTO.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hmm.
I was looking forward to having this conversation with you because I know that you are about as strong of an empath as I am. We feel things deeply.
Yeah.
And, I knew that you would really have a lot to add into this conversation. So,
Hmm. Well, and just you bringing that up, and I had awareness many years ago, over a decade ago, actually, uh, that it's the empaths who are really going to create the change in the world.
yeah,
Period.
that's it.
It's the empaths. It's you looking for outside leadership. It's like it's the empaths that are really going to create the changes that we wish to create in this world.
Yeah.
So why now? Why is Gabriel saying that this is the time? There's nothing, anything more important.
It has everything to do with the point that we have arrived at in terms of what's going on astrologically, what's happening with the shift of consciousness on the planet, what Gabriel calls the Great Divide. So that splitting that we're seeing between 3D and 5D, and understanding that our role as empaths is to hold the space for the creation of the new earth.
Mm,
And that's why Gabriel says there is no more important role on the planet right now than that of the empath. Those are very powerful words.
mm,
He's always told me that the meek shall inherit the earth. For years, he's been telling me that. And I thought, oh, yeah, yeah, that sounds, that sounds good. But I realized that it is those of us with the kind, compassionate hearts that have been doing the work, kind of floundering our way because there's no guidebook for any of this, and really being the peace, being the change, being the kind, being the gentle, being all of those things. That's our role. We
mm,
have to show that there's a better way. And
mm,
the reason why I think it was so important to create this program and have these conversations right now is because if we are on the planet to anchor peace, we can't do that if we're at war with ourselves.
mm,
And we have to come to embrace the fact that our sensitivities are not a curse. We're not too sensitive. There's no such thing as too sensitive. We are here to create the change. One conscious moment at a time. That's it.
mm. I remember going through navigating most of my life, feeling that I was too sensitive, being told that I was too sensitive, and and navigating again my relationships with my parents, my siblings, my adult intimate relationships, tiptoeing around those sensitivities.
Yeah.
Um, and I got to a point where it's like something snapped, and I knew something was off within a particular dynamic. And it was one person who's like really like imposing, like you're too sensitive, you're too sensitive. Like, and it hit me. It's like, oh wow. It's like there's something here in that is that my sensitivity is illuminating and navigating a truth that wants to be unearthed here, but by suppressing it, I'm kept in an illusion. It's kind of like a energetic gaslighting, if you will. If you don't feel so much, you won't see what's really happening. If you don't see what's really happening, I can manipulate an outcome. And I finally had to stand up and it's like, you know what? I can't do this anymore.
Mhm.
It's like I have shut down probably the greatest gift that I have so that you can feel more comfortable around me.
Right.
And I can't do that to myself anymore. So one of two things are going to have to happen. You're either going to have to get used to receiving this truth in the way it is, or you can leave because there's really no other choice.
Yeah. I also, if I had $1 for every time I was told I was too sensitive, oh boy, I'd be
Mm,
living large right now.
yeah.
You know, same as you and same as so many people. We've all been made to feel wrong for our sensitivities. And I was sitting there feeling bad about being sensitive. Someone had told me yet again that I was too sensitive. And Gabriel piped up, and this cracked me up. And I hope that all of you will hold on to this because it was so funny.
Mm,
He said, have you ever considered that maybe, just maybe, they're not sensitive enough? And
mm,
I thought, wow, because I was so used to always making it be about me being wrong. I never even for a second thought that maybe the person judging me wasn't qualified to judge me or maybe didn't have the sensitivities to understand who I was and what I was here to do. So I, not that we're trying to play judgment on another, but it made me giggle and it's made me take it way less seriously now when people say,
right. To line it up. There's the other end of the spectrum. That's one thing for people to judge us and to like, again, it's like, please don't feel so much because if you feel so much, then you might really feel what's happening.
Mhm.
But there's the inversion also where we fear our own capacity of that sensitivity because it's painful. It can be heartbreaking. It's too much for the physical body. It can be confusing.
Yeah.
And what would you say about navigating that part of it?
Well, I think it's really important to develop a tool set
Hmm.
that allows you. And I've taught spirit communication for many, many years. And one of the things that I learned with that was if it's coming through too loud, you have to say, whoa, 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 that's a little bit too strong for me. Can you back it up a little bit? And I think that we can do that with our sensitivities. We never want to shut them off. And I know that sometimes we just wish we could crawl under the blankets and turn them all off
Mhm.
and or just be normal, whatever normal is. Um, but imagine not having those sensitivities. It would be a nightmare. We're so used to using them as our GPS, and that's what's going to help us navigate into the new earth because
Mhm.
we're creating it as we go. And our sensitivities allow us to know if something is right or wrong or not right for us. So I think it's really important to get curious about your gifts, to figure out what works for you in terms of what makes it easier to be an empath in your body at that time. And we can do that. We can become more comfortable. And I think the more that we create this skill set, we're also doing a great service to those who are awakening after us, because we'll be able to tell them they'll have an easier time, and our children and our grandchildren won't go through what we went through being told, oh, you're too sensitive. We'll be able to not only tell them that's normal, it's a wonderful thing, and this is what you can do with it.
Well, we'll be able to have authentic relating conversations.
Yes.
That's really on par with what's true instead of trying to avoid something in conversation or action or how we show up for each other. So it again, what comes alive during the dynamic and the sensitivity is that it's really we have to learn, like you said, tool sets to help us on the path. I had someone on the show the other day, she raised her hand and her question was, how do I turn off my empathy? It's too much. It's like, ooh, it's like, let's back up. Why do you want to turn it off?
Yeah.
What's causing that? What's coming through? And most of us aren't equipped to navigate relational dynamics or our lives in a world where we feel so much,
Yeah.
um, and it's inconvenient for others who would rather not feel at all.
Yeah. And I think we're tired of being judged. We're tired of being told we're too anything. I was reading a quote from Gabriel that came back into my awareness today, and I would love to share that with you if that would be okay right now, because I think it really
Absolutely.
lends itself to what we're talking about. So what he said is the bottom line is, if you called a horse a cow its entire life, it wouldn't make it less of a horse. It
Mm,
would only affect it if it started to believe it really was a cow. And even then, trying to be a cow would not come easily because a part of it would always remember its true essence, which was horse.
mm,
All that would be required to step back into its truth would be another horse coming along and reminding it of its true beingness, or the horse finally allowing itself to see its own reflection and believe that reality. So, I love that this quote came back into my awareness today because I thought, it doesn't matter how many times people tell you that you're something, it doesn't change the truth of who you are.
mhm,
It only makes you try and deny yourself. And my goal with bringing, this information to light was giving people a solid tool set so that they can start to navigate easier, to know, for example, if there's one thing that really kind of kicks my butt, it's a solar storm. Those solar storms, I get really dizzy. It feels like the earth is moving underneath my feet. They just really affect me.
mhm,
Okay, so now I know. You have to educate yourself, pay attention to when there might be one, so you don't think that, oh, it's vertigo, or oh, I've got a tumor or something. Okay, this is what it is. And if you've learned from before what helps you, then you know what to go to.
mhm.
So in a sense, it's giving yourself your own instruction manual that you never came with.
What are some of the things that you could recommend for those listening right now that they can tap into, even just beginning to create their own manual, but in a way that actually sticks? Because we can use coping mechanisms, if you will, for a little bit, but they're just that, they're coping mechanisms, not empowerment tools. And I really want to stick with the empowerment tools.
Yeah. Well, I think that you can figure out what you can do. So if something's really coming in strongly, you might imagine that you have slider buttons, kind of like in a recording studio.
Mm,
And the idea is you never want to not get the information. So feelings and sensitivities are information, and we want that information to help us navigate our lives. What we want to do is get that information without it blowing our hair straight back. We want it to be more comfortable. So that's one technique that you can use. Or if you've ever seen like the fuzzy microphone covers that they use when they're filming outside to like diminish the sound of the wind.
hmm
Imagine that you have like a fuzzy covering on yourself of light that allows the information through, but kind of tempers it so it's more comfortable to land on your body. Those are two little techniques that you can use, but I think it's really important that we don't fall into psychic self-protection. And I know this
mm,
is going to sound really unpopular to a lot of people that practice that, but I'm going to explain why. When we practice self-protection, number one, Gabriel says we're announcing to the universe that there's something that we need protection from, which is what he calls hooey, which I presume is the angelic swear that he likes
mm,
to use. Um, we don't want to separate ourselves from the world. How can you practice unity consciousness if you're placing walls and mirrors in between you and the rest of the world? It may bring some relief, but you're going to feel isolated. And bottom line is, we want some of the good stuff to make its way through too. We don't, a wall's going to keep everything out. We don't want that.
hmm
What we want to do is practice energetic clarity, which is allowing our own energy to just shine. And so we do that with a seed of light technique, which is imagining your divine spark, wherever you think that is, inside your center and imagine that it grows and expands in all directions all around you, including under your feet, underneath that earth star chakra that's about a foot underneath your feet. You want to get that one too.
Mm,
And what that does is it allows everything good to come through. Anything that might be lower vibrating that you don't want to have close to you is just going to get dissipated long before it reaches you to affect you. And it allows you to connect with people easier. And this is what it is. We want to find a way of comfortably connecting with the world around us. Again, that's what unity consciousness is all about.
mhm. Yeah, and that's beautiful. And I want you to talk and share more about this concept of the empath grid. What is that?
Oh, this was a huge discovery that I made when I was writing, I think it was class 5. And Gabriel piped up and said, there's an empath grid. I'm like, wait a minute.
What?
Why
Why have
haven't
you been
I
keeping
heard
this from me? Right, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Why haven't I heard of this before? And what it is it's literally a grid that's been created through all of the empaths that have been scattered all over the planet. And we are connected to each other. I know so many of us want to have that community and that connection with other people that are equally sensitive. It's so beautiful to be around people that are equally sensitive. It just makes life a
Mm,
lot easier. But right now, we're still supporting the grids and the shift on the planet. So there's purpose for us to be, scattered around the planet. So this is literally a grid where if you're feeling like you need support, you can tap into that grid. Your soul knows where it is to get the love and support of being around other empaths. And if you're feeling really good, tap into the grid to give that love and support to other empaths who might be having a hard day.
mm,
It's this entirely new system that I didn't even know existed, which is just beautiful. And what he says is eventually, of course, as above, so below, then those connections become real life connections. And I think that's something that a lot of us are really looking forward to.
mm. That's really wonderful. And again, that's an invitation to open up the fluidity and the cycle of our energetic flow instead of compressing it to try to protect ourselves.
Yes.
Because in that we are communicating in a way that does allow us to connect with others in the field. But we're also, like you said earlier, we're communing of our capacity to anchor into within ourselves. And
Mhm.
so some of the practices that you've shared, what they all have brought forward for me as well is that they also invite a pause and presence.
Absolutely.
And from that, what we put our consciousness to, our attention to, our thoughts to can sprout.
Yeah.
And to have the tools, to have the prompts, let me create this, let me be in alignment with this from that pause, which is always, it always begins with us. We're the ones taking action and empowered to
Right.
begin that process and bring that tool in, which is tremendous.
I agree. And it's also about moving into our own authentic power.
Mm,
Because we weren't taught what to do with these sensitivities, we've often felt victimized by them. We're victimized by them because people make fun of us for who we really are, and we don't know what to do with it. We're just bombarded, we're at the mercy of it, and that's victim consciousness. Deciding that you're going to stop being in resistance to who you really are and figuring out, okay, how do I take the reins of this gift to make it something that can actually bring me joy?
mhm,
That's empowerment, and that's what we're aiming for. One
mm,
of the most powerful things Gabriel taught me, and it's so simple. You can't give energy and catch energy at the same time. So if you go into a place and your intention is to be a bringer of energy, guess what? You're going to be bringing this beautiful light. You're already in alignment. You're already in service. You're already in your higher self, and you're not going to catch any energy.
mm,
Or even just going about your business to be of simple service. Again, you're in a giving. We can't breathe in and breathe out at the same time. So if your intention is I'm bringing my energy for the betterment of wherever I am, how can you possibly catch anything? you're not going to be affected by other things. And this is when we start to realize that we have far more power over our feelings and our energetics than what we ever realized.
Hmm. It's beautiful. I like talking about that in a way that I like to, as much as I can consciously, when I go somewhere or show up, I want to give from my overflowing cup. I
Yeah.
want to give from the excess of all the blessings that I know and that I trust that I've received as well, because there's so many more than what I'm consciously aware of simultaneously. Um, Again, the connection with Gabriel is like, well, you consciously know he's there now and you tune into him in other ways. But the presence of our guides, of angelics that are coming through, of support systems that exist through this empathic grid,
Mhm.
all of those blessings that come through is like we pause and amplify the awareness of its existence, whether it's seen or unseen,
Yeah.
and put attention towards that and show up to provide from that overflow, but also understand that it's a circuit that's coming back to us, not because we're doing it for us, but it can't help but to do that.
Yes, exactly. I think that every empath on the planet wants to make a difference and
Hmm.
wants to be of service. So if we start to look at our energy as being service, we'll move out of resistance to who we are.
Right. So what's happening with this? I love the way you phrase this, with this game of cosmic leapfrog.
Well, that's where it gets a little bit tricky with our tools.
Hmm.
Because we all know that the energy is not standing still for some days it feels like not longer than 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And so what works one day may not work another day. And it doesn't mean that you did it wrong or things don't work for you. We have to get creative and we have to use our inner wisdom and be willing to try different things. So what's happening is we go through a big shift of consciousness and it assists the earth. And then the earth goes through a big release or a shift, and then it helps us. And so we're back and forth, passing that baton back and forth all of this time. It's all service, and we don't have to do anything. This is about beingness. This is about allowing yourself to be who you are, which has always been your greatest gift.
Mm. It's interesting as you're talking about that. Do you ask Gabriel to be anything other than what he is?
Yeah, never.
Ever?
No.
Ever? It's not even, it's like you have no expectations in that particular way.
Yeah.
I wonder why is it that we give that so freely to something or someone unseen, but it's so hard to give it to someone in physical form with us, or to ourselves or to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's, oh, there, we've had a lot of conditioning with people telling us that we were too everything. And, one of the things we need to remember is that if somebody's judging you, it automatically tells you that they're not qualified to.
Hmm.
Anyone who's qualified to judge you would be a higher being that has no interest in judging anyone or anything. They just see
Right.
divine perfection. So, right off the bat, if you know to look at it that way, you realize that they're not qualified.
Hmm.
But
Right.
it's hard when you're a child and you grow up in a family that doesn't understand you. And, I get it. We've been through that. I understand the struggle.
Well, at the core of it, for extremely sensitive empaths, it's difficult to be in any situation where anything that love exists. You're causing problems. Don't you understand that love's the solution? There's confusion. Don't you understand that uniting in love is going to elevate the problem into something that's beyond the problem? Don't you understand if you're having problems with being afraid of financial resources, someone not showing up, that when we show up in love, that the opportunities for the abundance that's available becomes that much more clear.
Yeah,
And at the core of it, that's it.
it
But it's
is.
confusing when we're taught to complicate things so much.
Yeah, we're the way showers. We're the ones that are showing the way forward. And one of the most amazing things that Gabriel tells me is he says that one day it'll be so obvious who the empaths and sensitives are that people will come up to us and say, thank you for your service.
Mm,
And I don't know what that looks like. I have no idea if it's next Friday or 20 years from now. I don't know. But it's the idea that we came in with these sensitivities because we believed the shift of consciousness would happen this time around.
mm,
And we came in with a seriousness because we wanted to make sure that was going to happen. So we've been very diligent on our spiritual journeys, most of us. We don't want to make a mistake. But as we start to move forward into the new earth, and that's really where we are right now, we're in the creation of the new earth right now. We're showing that there's a different way to be other than those old 3D constructs that are actually crumbling right now before our eyes.
mhm,
Especially when there's wars happening and so much conflict, it's really important for us to be those space holders, to be those anchors of peace. We're showing a different way. And that's why our job is so important.
mm. Yeah, there's a lot coming again. There's a lot coming through and what's showing up for us. And again, there's so many of y'all who have learned how to become even more sensitive
Yeah.
in a hyper-vigilant way because of the way that we grew up.
Yeah.
And so again, there's a lot of compassion and understanding, and it's wonderful that we get to connect in this way because we get to see each other and realize that we're not alone and that there is hope and that there is support to get into a place where we can rise and become empowered in
Yeah.
what's coming through. Because like you said, Shelley, we knew during this time that that'd be arising, and we've been preparing in many different ways
Yeah.
for these particular times.
Our souls are super excited,
Mm.
despite what our human selves might be thinking.
Yeah.
You know,
Something that's been really strong also is that, again, with the evolution, again, we're leapfrogging so
mhm.
quickly. And I'm finding that in the leapfrogging, I like talking about the princess and the pea, right? It's like I can have 20 mattresses stacked up, but the peas at the bottom of the mattress, I'm going to feel it.
Yeah.
But what's happening is that we're becoming so much more sensitive now. It's not like 20 mattresses instead of 10. And we can still feel it as we keep layering things on and our capacity to tune in, our capacity for compassion and grace that comes along with the capacity to really feel in a way and integrate the feeling to transmute it into the alchemy of love that we've been hoping for since we first remembered
Yeah.
that that was the solution to everything. And so again, as we're expanding, we're also becoming much more sensitive, much more capable of holding a big field of empathy, and we're acclimating. I don't think we're turning down the volume anytime soon. And what we need and what's really going to serve us during these times, again, are having the tool sets,
Yeah.
having the practices, being able to show up, tuning into what's true in this meter that's causing my gauge to go in different directions, and being able to ground it into a way that we can express the sensitivity that's coming through in a way that's empowered for ourselves and for others.
A lot of it, I believe, as well, is kind of that next level stage of arrival or attainment, which is really starting to trust in your beingness.
Hmm.
Your beingness really is more than enough. Being who you really are and allowing that to shine is really all, you know,
Mm,
and Gabriel tells me that there hasn't been a time since we were born that we have not been in service through our energetics.
mm,
That's a really powerful statement because we chose to come in with the challenge of having them on for the times we are in right now.
mm.
How incredible is that? It's
It's
amazing.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shelley, I'd love to open up to Q&A. Is Gabriel going to come through today in some of the Q&A?
Sure. Let's see what happens.
You may come through. If y'all want to ask questions, raise your hands. We're getting to live Q&A here. Um, And let me start promoting people on this end as everybody starts raising their hands. Um, and let's hop on. All right, y'all. I'm going to promote much more of y'all as a panelist here in 2 seconds. Um, but let's go through some of the first that came on. Lara, let's get you to turn on your video and welcome to the call.
Hi, thanks, John. Thank you,
Hi.
Shelley. Sorry, I was still getting my place. So I obviously am an empath, and people have told me all the time that it's too sensitive, yada yada. And eventually, I listened to them and told myself I was too sensitive and shut down,
Mm.
basically. And like I used to cry at commercials, like all that kind of stuff, and I don't anymore. And part of it might be the mental health meds I'm on. I'm not sure, but I am realizing that I need to have the ability to feel again and want to have the ability to feel again. So, do you have any suggestions, or does Gabriel have any suggestions as to how to go about doing that?
Mhm. Well, the first question I want to ask, I'm just curious. So if you saw something before that would make you cry, like a commercial that would make you cry, when you watch it now, do you still feel moved by it and you just don't cry, or are you just completely, it doesn't affect you at all?
I haven't seen the commercial I'm thinking about. It's the one with all the animals. Um, but I would say that I would still be moved from it. I would change the channel.
Okay. Okay. So then that tells me that your sensitivity is still there. So let's take a different tactic, Gabriel's saying. What if you started to look at your sensitivities as spirit guides, your feelings as spirit guides that are helping you, that have information for you?
Hmm.
Um, that would be a very powerful approach, I think, to allow you to baby step back into allowing yourself to feel. And I get it. We don't want to be sobbing at every commercial that we see. But that's part of what makes you beautiful. I can't tell you not to be you. Um, let's start looking at it as that's who you are. Let's stop being in resistance to who you are. And my guess is as you start to give yourself permission to just be unapologetically you, it's almost like I feel like there's all of these little empath children inside of you that are just jumping up and down and they just can't wait to come forward and play and be loud and exuberant and have all the feelings. So I would highly recommend that you do a little inner child or inner empath uh, reconnection work where you just call them forth out of the shadows if they were hiding back thinking that they weren't accepted, and open your arms and bring them into your heart and have a wonderful homecoming. That's what I would tell you
Mhm.
to do.
Okay, thank you. It's
Beautiful.
funny you said be yourself unapologetically because that's like my motto is to be myself unapologetically because I'm
There you go.
weird and quirky or whatever. And so thank
There-
you very much.
There's your confirmation.
All
Yeah.
right, Laura, it's good to see you. Thank you for coming on. Um, I love that. What if those feelings that are they're your guides,
Absolutely.
angelics that are with you? What if it's them? It's like have a whole different relationship with them. I guarantee you, I'd be less inclined to reject them than I would to be rejecting myself.
How do your guides communicate with you? Through
Yeah,
feelings.
amazing, amazing. Love that. All right, Bernadette, Bernadette, me too. I'm gonna read, but man, when I see gory stuff, surgeries, things like that, I'm like. It's way too much. But Bernadette, I've just joined. I personally feel pain and discomfort. If someone else hurts themselves, cut themselves, any injury goes through my body, and I feel their discomfort. Me, I am so highly sensitive to that. How
Yeah.
do we how do we attune in a way where we don't lose ourselves sometimes? Would be my question when I start because when someone's telling me a story, it's some people tell stories, and I feel like a lot of people hear it like the story's already passed and it's gone, which is the proper way to do it. When people tell stories in front of me, I'm in their story. I am navigating it. I am a character that's seeing everything on the path.
That's actually one. I made a quiz of 40 ways, like 40 things to identify that you're an empath, because in case you're not sure, and that's actually one of them, hearing a story or watching like a show on TV and you know it's not even real, but you can't help it, you feel it.
Oh yeah.
I'm with you.
Like surgery shows, doctor shows, and all that. I'll forget it. I can't watch any of that stuff.
I always
Yeah.
laugh and say I would be like the worst first responder in the world.
Same, same.
Right?
Yeah.
So here's what I think. I think that whenever I see something like that, I immediately go into sending healing or prayer, and to allow the people that are really good at doing that stuff to do
Mm,
it. But when you can shift it into still being of a kind of service, all of a sudden you're not feeling the discomfort because you're taking that energy, or you're taking that information or that nudge from that guide. How can I help in a way that I'm good at? And
mm,
let's face the facts. Most people, well, maybe not most people, but a lot of people don't have the ability to immediately go into prayer. They wouldn't think of it, or to send healing, or to even just send love. So it's about learning. That's my clue, my cue that I have to switch into how I can be of assistance in a way that is best for me.
mm. As you're talking about this, it brings up another question for me that I want to flip around so that we can become more powerful, aware, and in our own authority as sensitive and empaths. I I was in a client session and she was like, and this man came up to me and he was hitting on me and she's trying to like be really nice about her boundaries and about what she really wanted. But there was a part that came in that as she was saying no and the man was finally leaving, that she can feel him. And so the guilt of him feeling bad for whatever way that he approached her,
Hmm.
the the discomfort that she was picking up that was his, she was making her own.
Hmm.
And how is it that we can bring balance into those places where we're aware someone's going to go through their personal experience, regardless of what it is, because of whatever dynamic we're having with one another,
Hmm.
but that we don't have to make ourselves the creator of everything that's happening in the moment either.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. Um, Gabriel was telling me the other day, I was kind of on this because I recognized that in the early days, I held a really big responsibility for what people did with what I did in a session. And if they didn't get it, I thought it was on me. And then he'd say, hey, your job is to show up and do the best of your ability. And what they do with it from there is between them and God. And then I
Mm,
went through the same thing with courses. What if people aren't using it appropriately? And it's like, your job is to show up and teach, and and what they do with it is between them and God. And the other day, I realized that I still had an attachment that if I'm kind to people, that they'll be kind back. And the answer was, your job is to show up to the best of your ability, and what people do with it from that point forward is between them and God. And I think that really applies to this situation. She was kind, she had her boundary. It was the right boundary for her. And how that person processes it is going to be their level of attainment, up to whatever they're there to heal or whatever. We don't know what their path is all about. So we have to learn to allow people to be in their mastery just as we're allowing ourselves to be in our own.
right. And we face the danger of fawning over people. Well, certainly with our kids, telling kids no as an empath, you can feel everything that's going through it and just holding what you know is right.
It is so hard as a
Well,
parent, an
when it's
empath
anchored
parent.
in love and we hold is right, but still the tugging of the strings, right?
Oh, very
Hard.
difficult. For sure
Yeah.
it is. Yeah,
It's a good training ground though, also,
it is. Yeah.
which is wonderful. Which is wonderful. Neil, let's
But
go to
no,
you.
I'm
Oh, go
so
ahead,
sorry.
Shelley.
I'd like to add this in because Gabe just popped this in. I think that we have this idea that boundaries are mean or boundaries are bad. Like if you have a boundary and you're an empath, oh, you're being mean. And Gabriel said we have to understand that a boundary is not about keeping somebody out. A boundary is actually finding the right connection point that's empowering for everyone involved. And if you can look at it that way, all of a sudden it's not mean and it becomes a
Mm,
little bit easier, or even what is fair. What is fair? A lot of times empaths are really good at figuring out what's fair. So that
I've
could be a good tactic.
I've gone through stages of sovereignty that it goes beyond boundary into holding a standard. This is the standard in which we are going to treat one another. That's the baseline.
Yeah.
You can meet me up there or don't. But if
Yeah.
you don't, then it's the energy that is changed is going to be extremely diminished,
Yeah.
or it's not going to be there. It's my intention will be focused somewhere else, and it's wonderful.
Oh, only the safest people deserve VIP passes. I'm just
There you
telling
go. There you go.
you.
All right, Neil, let's go to you now. Welcome to the call.
Thank you so much, John. Love your show. Love the work that you do.
Thank you.
Shelley, so glad to be here. Um, that point that you just brought up about looking at your emotions as your guides, that just feeds right into my
Mhm.
question about any messages from Gabriel about helping me navigate relationships. As I've had a very difficult time my entire life with relationships and being controlled, and
Mm,
I let it happen, and I'm getting in front of it now, starting
right.
to.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think the discussion that we just had about empath, like boundaries rather, is really good.
Yeah,
So just and
great.
I think it really helps to think about we're not trying to keep anybody completely out unless they're really abusive, in which case it's never empowering to another person to allow them to treat you poorly because you're enabling them to show up in this lesser version of themselves. So it's
Mhm.
actually kinder to have a boundary because people just don't change unless
Mm,
you have a boundary. Right? So I think that you're learning to love yourself is what Gabriel's saying that you're learning to love yourself.
right.
It's like
Yes.
you're moving into this like beautiful new loving relationship with yourself. And I want to say almost like become like that protective parent a little bit,
Mm,
where you're gonna love and guide and shepherd yourself, but your inner wise one is there to overlook and make sure that where you are, and if people start to be inappropriate towards you, which I get can actually feel very familiar if you've had a lot of that,
yes, for sure.
to just kind of say, hey, hey, what's happening here? No, how are you feeling? Okay, well, we're letting you know this isn't right. So we're going to back you up a little bit. Let's assess this. Let's take a higher viewpoint and see what's going on here. I love the path that you're on for yourself. I
Mm.
think that you are just exactly where you need to be. It is your time. It's your time to love yourself and become who you've always been meant to be.
Mm,
Yeah,
thank you.
you're very
Blessings, Neil.
welcome.
Thanks for coming on. Y'all, we're gonna get to a special offer in a little bit. Click on the button that's right underneath the video where you're watching the call from. On the replay, same thing, and you can always access replays on beyondtheordinaryshow.com/marketplace. But before we go into the special offer, which is a great opportunity to work with Gabriel and Shelley and really this expansionary energy as we're leapfrogging, y'all, leaps and bounds, like huge. Where is it? Superman jumping over the Empire State Building in a single bound. We're jumping cosmos. It's crazy right now. But before we go into I want to get a little dark because there isn't a shadow aspect of empathy if there's not an integration with the emotions and the charges that come through. And what is it that Gabe can offer, you can offer for us to navigate those things that have been repressed as so suppressed that sometimes it feels that the only way for it to really come up is through an explosive energy, being that which we're condemning others to be. Um,
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I think that, when we talk about being explosive, I think that's when we're really talking about we're triggered because we're not caring for something within ourselves that's
mhm,
desperate for our love and attention and acknowledgement. And so if we can stay in a space, again, kind of our own parents or our own guides or our own best friends, where we can say, okay, I love you. I see you're upset. What's going on? What do you need right now that you
mhm,
didn't get before that I am more than happy to offer you? And I think that really this is about creating safe attachment within yourself, where we shift out of trying to suppress things because they're not nice or they're not kind or they're reactive or whatever, and just sitting with them and saying, hey, I see you, I understand. You don't have to get so loud, I'm here. And what will happen usually is when you start to create safe attachment within yourself, it might kick up a couple of times. It's just testing the safe attachment to see if you're telling the truth. But if you are consistent with yourself in that way, again, this is coming home to who you really are. And
Mhm.
that's a beautiful journey.
Yeah. It's also beautiful if we find a space that's healthy, that we can go into
Mhm.
a container in which we can show up for everything that's coming through. And
Yeah.
if that means that you're sobbing for hours in a room, or you're raging in front of your mirror in anger, but in an aware way, not in a way that you're spewing uncontrollably and projecting onto others,
Mhm.
but to allow those waves of energy that we've been taught to suppress. When you're 3 years old, don't throw tantrums. Stop your tantrums, lock it in your body. When you had a sexual stimulation, stop it in your midsection. Have the energy stop there because it's not appropriate. If you're heartbroken, no, you're not allowed to be heartbroken or to cry. Don't cry. And we clog up the energy in our heart center. And so to allow those energies to become unconstipated,
Mhm.
if you will, to really move through, for it to have a place for the fluidity of the crystalline energy that you've been bringing in otherwise through your
Yeah.
empathic awareness of love and unity consciousness, that it creates something that becomes very empowering because now we're not condemning those energies.
Mhm.
We're not making them wrong. We're actually bringing them into a place of wholeness. And if we can do that for ourselves, our capacity to do that for others becomes exponentially proficient.
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing that I've noticed, I love that you asked this because so many of us empaths have had challenging or abusive backgrounds. It seems like it's, kind of part of the deal for us to keep our sensitivities on high.
Part of the PhD program, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so, I've been kind of working through some childhood trauma. It's been an ongoing process, but I suddenly found myself getting mad. And I would never allow myself to be mad before. I was always just
Mm,
sad. I was never mad. And I realized that mad actually meant that I was standing up for myself for the first time in
mhm.
my life and standing up for that little me that deserves so much more. So sometimes anger can actually be a very healthy expression if we don't shy away from it and go, ooh, that's not nice to be mad. We
Mhm.
have to allow ourselves to let those things move through us, and understand them. And again, get curious. What is this telling me? What is this? That's actually a sign of moving up that vibrational scale when you can move from sadness
Mm.
to anger.
Yeah, it's amazing what comes through. Y'all, this is it. It's so relevant what we're talking about now again because we're becoming even more sensitive and more aware. But we're going from the disempowered empath into the highly empowered empath, and
Yeah.
there's a difference. The disempowered empath is affected by everything, is victimized, and doesn't know when to come in and out of the world. The empowered empath, just know there's an awareness and you know how to navigate the seasons because you've walked the terrain, you lived in the jungle and you become part of the tribe that can walk the jungle, if you will. As an example, it's you hadn't just been dropped in all of a sudden, it's like chaos. You wouldn't survive a day.
Well, I
Um,
think we have a lot of belief systems about being an empath as well. When Gabriel first gave me the title of this whole, body of work, he called it the Glorious Empath. And I thought, whoa,
mm,
that's a big sell. You know, and I realized that I don't think any of us considered that not only could you be a happy, thriving empath, you could be a glorious empath. And I
mm,
thought, wow. So we still have these insidious belief systems that we've picked up that it's some cross to bear or it's this horrible thing. And yes, it can be challenging, but it also allows us to see so much more magic in the world than anyone else sees.
Mm.
We have to start to be grateful for it so that it can
Yeah.
bloom into its fullest expression.
Oh my God, our capacity for our sensuality, again, our capacity to feel, taste, see, hear. It's like, and
Yeah,
to have that in human form, which is a gift that other beings may not, in other realms, may not get to experience in the way that we do.
that's right.
And to ignite that, to be in the ecstasy of the divine and have a capacity to feel it in this corporal existence is it's extraordinary. It's
Yes.
absolutely extraordinary. So the glorious empath, y'all, that's the special offer. I hope hopefully y'all have clicked on the special offer button. If you haven't, I highly encourage you to, because Shelley's going to guide you through a course here that is it's really going to activate more of your action taking ability, your embracing your role and awakening the love inside of you, and how it's just such a gift and really needed in the world. It's what we came here for. Um, and so we're going to go deep into this as Shelley explains what she's offering. But I love what you wrote here, Shelley, in the beginning. Never before has the empath been more exhausted, and never before has the role been more important. And just starting with that, it's like, yes, thank you, Anne. Tell us more about this course.
Yeah. Um, so, I think I'm just going to finish with that little paragraph because it's imperative that we find a way to proceed with deeper comfort and understanding of how to work our energy, embrace our gifts, and move forward in a far more empowered and satisfying way. So, uh, it's, the empath's time has come. It's our time right now. This is what all the work that we've been doing all of this time has been for. So my intention with writing this offering is so that you can become so much more comfortable with your sensitivities and not see them as a burden, but as a gift, so that you can fully embrace them and step forward fully into this very sacred and important role. So in a class, like each of our classes are MP3s, they all run about half an hour and around there. But with this course, because I didn't want people to just listen to the MP3s and blow through it and, that's one and done. I created some really thoughtful worksheets so that you would really sit and get to know yourself more. I've created quizzes and common areas where people get stuck for you to become aware of. And this is actually going to allow you to track your progress from the beginning to the end as well and see how far you've come, which is really awesome.
Mm.
So in class one, we look at how I how do I know I'm an empath? So I think if you're listening to this call, you already know, but I created this, it's actually 40 questions that I wrote down to really give you an idea of how strong of an empath you might be. You might be shocked
Mm.
to realize just how strong of an empath you are. And so right off the bat, what I want to do is I want you to have an awareness of where you are kind of on that empath scale so that you start to be more kind and gentle with yourself. And then we have a meditation to help you connect with your empath guides. Let's get all of these supports in place and to see how many other empaths are on the planet. So I think it's real easy to feel kind of solitary and nobody understands me and there's nobody else like me. Oh, they're all over the place. We just have, it makes sense for us to be scattered around more in service to the planet right now. And I
Mm.
have homework for every class to really help you go through the content and get the most out of each and every class. So you have worksheets to work through. In class two, you're probably sitting there saying, okay, I'm definitely an empath now that you've done class one. Now what? This is a powerhouse of a class because what we're going to do is we're going to identify any limiting belief systems that you have about being an empath, and we're going to use my journeying into the new system to release them and replace them with new empowered declarations so that you can be an empath in a far more comfortable way. Journeying by itself is an incredibly powerful process. You get to do that within this course. So the first thing we do, we identify that you're a strong empath. The second thing we do, we look at where those limiting belief systems are, and we help you release those so they can be replaced with something much more empowering for you. Big class, huge healing from that. In class 3, we talk about making your sensitivities more manageable. So we look at some commonly held questions. Why can't I just turn it off? Things that we ask about, why is this my cross to bear? We look at some of those things, and we actually have a meditation to help you work with your sensitivity guides, to
Hmm.
help you work with your energy in ways that are much more comfortable for you.
I want to clear something up because you keep saying we do this. So it's you and
Oh,
Gabriel coming in and
yeah.
channeling through. So it's
Yeah, this is all Gabriel driven, and I'm the one that delivers it. So yeah, it's
and that's a really important distinction, y'all. It's and Shelley, of course, is wonderful. But some of y'all, how did you create this course and what's coming through? It's like the we is Shelley's capacity to be in a high vibrational state to really bring something through that we're ready to receive as we're at different stages of evolving.
oh gosh, I would love to take credit for all of this. This is
But you are bringing it in through, but it's really it's a
yeah,
consciousness that's quite extraordinary that Shelley has a capacity to hold and translate for us.
yeah, Gabriel, this is Gabriel's wisdom, and I just do my best to deliver it and live up to it. That's about how that works.
Totally
So
get you, yeah.
class 4 is what to do if you get really uncomfortable. So you could be going along just tickety-boo and using the tools and feeling pretty good, and then you get hit with a great big wave of energy. This is a class that's going to help you dive deep into, okay, what's going on? This is what I'm feeling. What can I do? Okay, I'm feeling this. Did I do this? Did I do this? Did I do this? What helped? And this is starting to get to know yourself so that you can start to guide yourself as an empath. So we talk a lot about the importance of, creating a journal, writing down the tools. I know we all think, oh, it worked, I'll never forget. But I'm telling you, we always forget. The next time the same thing happens, we're like, oh, what did I do that time? This
Mhm.
will allow you to write it down and refer back to it. And Gabriel also highly recommends creating that energy journal so that you know what's going on. I think education is power. And if you know, oh my gosh, there's this like really hard astrological alignment, or there's a solar flare, or the Schumann is spiking, or whatever could be happening on the planet, it allows you to recognize, oh, that's what I'm feeling, instead of making yourself feel wrong for it. And I think that's so important. Again, I'm trying to move you out of being in resistance to the
Mhm.
glorious empath that you are. Okay. In class 5, we start to look at the bigger picture, which is embracing your purpose. So we're going to start looking at some of the things that the empaths have been doing on the planet, maybe without even knowing. We're going to be talking about crystals, the activations of crystals in the earth, the empath grid, how so many of us feel that pressure to be perfect and where that comes from. We also discuss purpose and how that can be a lot more simple than you realize. And that's the class where you get to tap into the empath grid and
Mhm.
feel what that's like to be in support in both giving and receiving to all the other empaths around the world. And last, we look at class 6, which is moving forward as a glorious empath.
Mhm.
And so in this class, we explore exactly what a glorious empath is, the power of gratitude, the power of vibration. We look at the divine combination. So for those of you who may be new to my work, the divine combination is a very powerful navigation system that Gabriel has been talking about for the past 20 years. And he's been educating us on this uh, combination of elements to use because it is the higher vibrating operational system.
Mhm.
And consists of surrender, faith, flow, and trust. And we're going to talk a lot about that in class 6 and how to use that moving forward. because it does make your path forward so much easier and much more comfortable. It teaches you how to move and ride with the energies and take whatever you can from whatever is happening to make yourself more comfortable. And then last, what you're going to get to do is revisit some of the quizzes that you did earlier and see how far you've come and what's been really working for you so you can move forward and congratulate yourself on the progress that you've made as a glorious empath.
Amazing. This is so well laid out. It's so wonderful.
Oh, I forgot. There's also a bonus. I forgot
Oh,
about the
tell
bonus.
us about the bonus. Yes.
The bonus is Gabriel did a live channel where he was talking a lot of the importance of the empath. So I decided to include that. So you'll have an MP3 of that live channel, what he said. And I also transcribed it into text for those of you that prefer to print things out and read them later. So it's also
Excellent.
Gabriel's words, and you get to feel his energy as he talks about that as well.
The transmissions that come through from that, the vibrational alignment. Y'all,
Yeah.
this is wonderful. $99, y'all, for this, and again, the empowerment that comes through and what's available. It's I hope y'all have an opportunity to dive in with Shelley, and really awakening that sleeping giant, beautiful giant within. Um, and what I want to say, it's well, first, again, y'all know where to find the link underneath the video where you're watching the call from, and you know how to find the marketplace. That's wonderful. Again, $99, two payment option. Something that was coming up from you as you were speaking, and by the way, I'm going to take more calls, so y'all hang tight. I promise I'm going to get back to you. Some great comments in the chat also. As being highly sensitive, a lot of times we will shrink our energy. And we're so used to being in that contracted, shrinking state. So even if we want to express emotions, we won't even take up a space because we want to make sure that whoever else needs to take up space has their turn, and we put ourselves second. But second sometimes winds up being third or fourth or fifth or 150th because there's always someone ahead.
Yeah.
And so what is it that you can offer? And I know this course is going to help, but to provide an awareness. It's not just a wanting to, y'all, but an awareness that allowing our energy to augment, allowing it to be in a place of homeostasis where it's just a natural place of where it is. That you can shrink it if you choose to, but you can expand it exponentially, and it doesn't have to be at the expense of anybody else.
Mm-hmm. I think it's about what is fair. I think we have to keep going back to what is fair because empaths know what is fair. We know what's fair. And we can start to recognize when we're not being fair to ourselves. And that's not being fair to anyone else, right? Because what we do for the one, we do for the all. And we can't keep ourselves in a contracted space. I'll tell you a really fun little experiment I've been doing. So I was having a problem with being invisible when I would go out. I could stand at a counter for service, nobody ever sees me. And then it was suggested to me that I might be just kind of sitting on a different energetic layer where people don't see me. So I would kind of put myself into, like, I don't want to say a lower vibrational place, but I would try to connect with the energy of where I was so I could be seen. And it actually works out really well. So if you're feeling like I have to shrink down to, so I'm not seen in
Feel
a
safe,
challenging
right?
situation, if you stay in your own energies and it's a lower vibrating situation, they're probably not going to see you anyway. So another bonus, right? You might as well just let your own energetics lead the way. And we leave a swath of light everywhere we go. We leave people better when we allow ourselves to be our truth. Listen, we've been on this journey, some of us for 20 years, digging through this endless releasing and healing and peeling the onion to get to our gooey, soft centers, which is our empathic nature that's always just wanted to shine. That's it.
There's an aspect of it though, Shelley, that it feels uncomfortable as an empath receiving attention. It feels other people's gaze on us or their encouragement of us. It can be loving, but we're like, I'm feeling too much. Please like turn it down like a lot so that I can kind of receive it. And it's a
Mhm.
normal affection. It's not like an overpowering or engulfing, but still as the hypersensitivity that's evolving through us as we anchor into a place where we can be more stabilized within ourselves.
Well, but here's the
It
question,
becomes
John.
important to be aware of where we're shutting down receiving
Right.
because we haven't learned how to attune to what's really there.
But here's my question for you. If you're feeling like that, are you really, is it really an energetic thing, or are you shrinking to avoid that judgment that you're so used to coming at you? When you embrace yourself as like as a glorious empath, when you decide that there's nothing wrong with you, that's not going to affect
No,
you.
but this is even receiving praise. I'm not even talking
Oh,
about
I
receiving
see. Okay.
negative
Yeah.
things. It's like people
Mm.
authentically wanting to give to us, just like you're amazing and thank you and gratitude and to receive a compliment. Oh no, thank you. It's like and we shut ourselves down from a circuitry that's really here to stimulate us, to fill our gas tank as sensitives when we
Yeah.
become so depleted, but we don't know how to allow that to come into our lives. It's been difficult.
Well, because we came in with everything just on, I'm going to give, I'm going to serve. Like we
Yeah.
didn't, and so we're so comfortable at giving with others. It's very difficult to receive, which I think is another part why so many empaths have trouble with money, because
Mm.
we have trouble receiving. And so I think it's just about coming to peace with yourself and understanding, no, this being you will then contain everything that you want. You can't
Mhm.
find the perfect matches when you're hiding under the covers. I wish you could. All those people that are meant to connect with you, they're like, well, they said they'd be here. Where are they? And you're hiding under the covers. You don't want to do that. But I understand what you're saying. We've been conditioned. That's conditioning when you're wanting to stay small. Don't pay attention to me because sometimes having that attention was unsafe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a more empowered way that's coming through for us. And again, we've done so much work that it's time now to come out from underneath the shell and just really
Yeah.
allow the amplification of this light that you are and the love and awareness that you bring into this world to serve not just for a healing for you, but for a healing for all of us who are connected to you as well.
I think too, as conscious beings, we have this, we were so driven. We wanted to make sure the shift of consciousness was going to happen. We have this fear of falling into ego, or we have a fear of power because we've seen it used incorrectly before.
Mhm.
And that's also, when you're consciously aware, when you're an empath, you're not going to make those mistakes. You're far too sensitive to go down that path. But sometimes we don't want to seem too big for our britches, as my mother would say,
Mhm.
don't be too big for your britches. And,
Right.
like that's really bad. Like don't shine. So, oh goodness. It's a miracle we've made it this far when you think about it sometimes.
I have a fun game that I like to play with people in the audiences sometimes, and I'll do it now. It's quick, and then we'll get into some
Yeah.
questions. But how many people are so sensitive, so attuned? You're just so worried, like your BS radar is like through the roof. Absolutely, you can pick it up anywhere.
Yeah.
It's like I can spot it from. It's like I can spot when someone's not being authentic, when they're just like it's like something's off.
Yeah.
Something's off.
Yeah.
The BS meter, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. How many of y'all have like limiting beliefs, like I'm not good enough, or I'm not priority, or right?
Yeah.
Like, I want you to call in the superpower of your BS meter and call light on the I'm not enough and I'm not a priority because that's BS as well.
Oh, awesome.
Bring in the capacity of what you can see beyond the little ego telling you a story of something that isn't true and isn't serving you, and apply that super sensitivity power of seeing beyond the illusion to go, hold on a second, that's BS. I am a priority. And why do I know I'm a priority? Because I am living and breathing here on earth, and it is source that put me here, not anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not anybody else. And anybody outside of source that tells me that I am less than that, let me be a beacon so that they can see their own ignorance, so they can see the source that they be. And that's where the power of the empath really lights up. That's when you become a force of reckoning to bring things into balance for this world. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing what comes through. Anyway, thank you all for letting me play with you. Let's go to our next caller. Mary Ann, welcome to the call.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, John. Hi,
Hi.
Shelley. My question is, has to do with my fear of damnation. Now, I don't think it's mine personally, but it might be my ancestors. Or maybe it's from a past life. I don't know.
Okay. Well, if you understand that we're all a piece of God, why would God damn a piece of itself?
Last cell phone ping was at 3:30 yesterday afternoon on the sea.
It wouldn't.
Trail for Upper
There you go.
Crews from multiple communities are.
So this is just other people projecting onto us their beliefs.
Yeah, that's really old conditioning that was kind of created to keep people toeing the line and doing all kinds of stuff. But we're all a piece of God. We're all a piece of God. It's that simple.
And part of the empath part, Shelley, also. Marianne, let's look at this projection that other people X, Y, and Z. An empath is, what am I choosing in this moment? What am I doing to me? What am I choosing to create? And let's start there. And then we can see the fractals of that and relational dynamics that support where our consciousness is. And this isn't about dismissing anything that you may have experienced, but this is about seeing it from a different lens that really empowers you rather than diminishes you, because you're waiting for something to change outside of you that's probably never going to change. We can't expect it to. It's only you that can initiate the change that you wish to see in your conditions. And if you happen to experience damnation, well, amazing. Go into the shadow part of damnation and have a relationship with that to see what light it wants to bring into your consciousness.
But I also would like to point out that when we have a belief system, you can replace a belief system with a new belief system that matches who you are at this level of attainment. So if you change your thinking about it into seeing yourself as a piece of God, and God would only want to perpetuate its God self, it would not want to damn any part of itself. Well, all of a sudden, you've just created healing that can go back through all of those ancestral lines, because it only takes one to heal and everybody benefits from it in all directions. So maybe that's your purpose, to reframe
There you
how
go.
you look at it.
Beautiful, Shelley. And Marianne, thank you so much. Blessings to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right, let's continue. Catherine Alexis, welcome to the call.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Shelley. It was Gabriel who said, get on this call.
Oh,
And
Amazing.
I'm changing my subject matter wherever I am to be on this call.
oh, thank you.
And I'm in Mount Shasta. And during the full moon, Gabriel came in and made it very clear to my head that his retreat lights Mount Shasta, down past Sacramento, over into San Francisco now, like a triangle. And he wanted me there, connected to him. Now he's given me the joy of making flower essences. He's shown me all my Celtic Devic nature. He's brought me through so much soul integration. And I wanted to share so many different things that I've learned from him. But I think what you're sharing is you're two magnificent empathic teachers. And I think Marianne sort of brought something up that I wanted to share with that question of, why do I sit in this retreat over in Mount Shasta with everything else that's known about Mount Shasta? And I was always unified as hope, right? So the archive of hope with Gabriel and Michael and archangels, but that retreat grid is connected to all our empathic grid, and it weaves every day. And Marianne, I know what it's like to be called this, and this for various reasons, religious or otherwise. And what I found was, as an empath, when I finally learned to pull in my fields, to love myself, and to ask, how much love does this moment require? I started to open my heart from all the abuse and this, that, and the other. And what I saw was that this glorious empath is when somebody says something to me, and I'm a projector in the human design, and my gene keys are all, I've
Hey,
studied.
hey, Catherine, what's your question, love?
My question is, in this leapfrogging, Gabriel told me I was an ecopath, which makes sense to me. I feel, sense, see elementals all the time. And that my question is, I know when earthquakes are going to go off or volcanoes are going to go off, but my empathic nature has always been able to have the awareness just seconds before or after I've figured out how to balance it. But the relationship that you brought up, John, of out of sexual abuse, the emotion of the pure prime energy of humanity that we are, that the archangels know we are, I think is that glorious part.
So the question here is,
The question is, when will we connect and understand that empathically, we've always been connected to all humanity? That's where our sensitivity comes. And yet we're now, when we accept it, like Shelley and you have, that the grace that's given is not karmic. And many empaths are trying to process others' karmic energetics from timelines. My question is, Shelley, in this course, when we get to the glorious part, right, when we claim it, I was taken out of science into creativity. I've been creative all my life. Gabriel has done that for us.
but let's get back to the question, love.
The question is, will we individually know what we're here to create in our special empathic frequency? Because it's not going to be just one and done, like you say, and it's not a stamp. But
Let's see what's coming through from Gabriel for you, because
yes,
there's a lot that's circulating in the
sorry.
energy. Yeah, no, it's okay.
Sitting in the retreat.
Well, it's an unfoldment. And all that is required, what I'm being told from Gabriel is all that is required is that we stay in the divine combination of surrender, faith, flow, and trust, primarily. Okay. And we simply stay in our beingness, making our highest choice one right now moment at a time. That's it.
Okay.
And the rest is gravy, he says. So what that means is if you decide, oh, I want to paint, or oh, I want to write, or oh, I want to sleep, or oh, whatever. If you are in the divine combination, if there is something that you need to be aware of to work on, it's going to come into your field. You'll be very aware of it. You'll deal with it and you'll move on. It takes you out of trying to figure out what you should do.
Yeah.
And it allows you to kind of become one with the flow. And that allows you to always make your next discovery that actually exists in the realm of potentiality that is just beyond what we can see where we are right now. So it's going to be a never-ending unfoldment, and that's the beauty of it.
I want to ask a question on top of the Shelley, and it may be layered in, and I hope I'm not projecting, Catherine, but it comes up for the group. When will I be recognized for the gift of my empathy, and when will I finally feel at home with it?
That's the question?
That's the question.
Whenever you allow it. It's
There
the
you go.
answer.
Yeah, and it's a question that's very it's vulnerable for empaths. Like, when will I finally be received? When will I be understood? I can see so much, I can feel so much. I just want to be with other people that
Mhm.
just get me.
Yeah,
And I think it's an important question to bring up
it is. I think
because
we need
I
to have an
well,
intention.
yeah, well,
Intention's
I want
huge.
everybody to feel that, really invite it into that it's not unique to you alone. There's other empaths that we've gone through the varying degrees of heartbreak of not being understood.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But don't you think that, as you know, John, you so beautifully said, it all begins within. So to me, embracing yourself as a glorious empath is accepting yourself. And from there, you get more acceptance from others.
And it's bringing in that compassion that we have for others, for ourselves. And that's what we
Absolutely.
can bring it in for ourselves. And that's when we can start saying, hold on, I'm not alone. Hold on. Oh, wait, I am understood. Oh my God. And even if someone isn't receiving the gift of love or of empathy or of compassion or of grace that I am giving, it fills me up so much
There you
that
go.
I am seeing a shift in a positive way within them, not because it's for my benefit, because I want to feel more comfortable because I was feeling uncomfortable around them, but I know that anywhere where they were in suffering has been alleviated because of my presence, if even just a little bit.
I think one of the best ways we can actually start to experience the joy, like what you're saying, the joy of being who we really are.
Mhm.
And I have some suggestions within the course of experiments I want people to do. And one of them is just simply choosing to go about your day to be of simple service. And
Mm,
whenever I do that, I have the best day. And people ask me for things like, can you pass me down that off a shelf? Or do you know the time? Or it's just simple service. But because I was showing up as a giver of energy rather than a catcher of energy, my day was fabulous.
mm,
And that's how you start to know what a glorious empath can feel like. So,
it's beautiful. I have another example of a relational dynamic in my experience of empathy. Some of y'all may have heard this before. I was at the coffee shop that I go to almost every morning here on Hawaii. This was a few years ago, probably like 5, 7 years ago. Um, and I go in and there's a new girl that's working behind the counter, and I had seen her before, but I didn't introduce myself to her. And she recognized me, and I can see, and she's just smiling at me, super sweet. And I go up and she goes, "I'm buying your coffee today." It's like, no, 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 you can't buy my coffee. It's like, you don't have to do that. Just you smiling at me. It's a gift and it's amazing. It's all, it's like, no, no, I really want to buy it for you. And I stopped and I paused and I felt her. I took the time instead of deflecting so quickly from receiving. And I heard very quickly, do not negate the opportunity for her to give something to you as your way of gifting something to her. I was like, okay. And after the next round, no, no, please let me get your coffee, your Americano. I was like, yeah, yeah, I'll go ahead. It's like, yes, thank you so much. It means so much to me that you would do that. I saw her light up energetically. It's like she was here. Her aura must have expanded 10 feet wide when I said yes.
yeah,
When I said yes.
yeah.
The gift that she gave me in that was beyond the coffee or beyond the acknowledgement that she saw me. She was really teaching me the initiation or guiding me into initiation of receiving, which is one of the hardest things that I have had to learn as an empath, as a highly
Gabriel,
sensitive person.
Gabriel always tells me, don't be a service hog.
Thank you.
And he
Thank you.
says, if we get so much joy from being of service, we have to allow other people to get
Exactly.
that joy back.
Yep.
You
If
know,
not, we're just being selfish with it.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and that helped me, like even just to receive a compliment used to be really difficult for me. Oh gosh, John, you don't know this about me, but when I first started this work, I was so terrified to be seen that I had no pictures of myself. I only had pictures of Gabriel. I only had quotes
I
from
remember your website before. I remember saying something about that. It's like,
yeah.
where are you?
And then you invited me to be on your show and it was like, "Oh man, I got to show up as being part of this." And you
Mhm.
were the one that brought me around to being an equal partner with it, and it was all because of you.
I love that.
So easy for us to, kind of not want to be seen. And that's part of the journey of the empath, I think. And that's something that we are more than ready to heal beyond at this point.
I think the workshop that you're taking us into, again, the alchemy of the different stages, it really brings in permission, empowerment, awareness, intelligence, consciousness, and it ignites something that's already alive inside of us. How do we use this in such a way that we don't have to search for anything outside of ourselves, y'all? We have it.
Yeah.
How do we turn it on and take it to fifth gear? Right? We have a Ferrari in the driveway and we're not taking it out for a spin.
It's the time of the empath.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
what we've been working for. And it's not like we agreed to come onto the planet and have this like terribly challenging time with no rewards for it. We didn't do that. It's been an
Mm,
unfoldment to get to the point where we start to trust ourselves to be able to navigate without that to-do list that we used to have into creating through our beingness by allowing ourselves to be who we really are and knowing that there's nothing more that we need to do than that.
mm, amazing. So let's go through the course again. Class one, I think I'm an empath, but how do I know for sure? Class two, okay, I'm definitely an empath. Now what? Class three, making sensitivity more manageable. Thank you. Yes. Class four, what to do if I get really uncomfortable. Class five, the bigger picture, embracing purpose. You were speaking about purpose. And class six, moving forward as a glorious empath. And of course, the bonus of the recorded channeled message from Gabriel um, that is available as an MP3 download. So that's all part of the course. So y'all click on the special offer button, click on the link that's in the chat box. If you're on YouTube, you can find the link in the comments section. Um, and Shelley, before we go today, there's one thing that I'd love to address before we hang up. What does Gabriel have to share about how we can support ourselves better as we're going through the place that you're right? We have been more exhausted than we ever have been before. Um, wh- what can you share as far as an awareness and things that we can apply to support ourselves to coming back into balance?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've been moving a tremendous amount of energy. We've
Mm,
been healing multiple lifetimes at the same time.
yeah.
We've been filtering for the collective. I mean, we've been working grids. We've been doing it. And Gabriel tells me that we are literally holding energies in our body right now that would have killed us had we been exposed to them even just a couple of years ago. That's how
Mm,
rapidly this is
wow.
going. So first and foremost, let's give ourselves a hand. Or like that we're actually doing
Wait,
this.
a hand up or applause, or maybe
Whatever.
both.
I mean, I think we have to, like, if we just take the time to look back, um, over the last 5 years and see how much we've shifted and grown and what we've accomplished and where we are, we start to honor ourselves in this process. And I think we also start to give ourselves some better care, better self-care when we realize just what a big deal it is of what we've been doing. We're going to allow ourselves to rest if we need it. And this is really about moving back into that whole divine combination, because when you're in that surrender, faith, flow, trust model, it actually provides you action phases and lulls that really help your balance.
Mm,
And when you allow yourself to move with whatever is being energetically balanced, you become far more efficient in everything that you do. So it's about, I think so much of this has actually given us the ability to be okay without knowing what's next. We've learned how to move with the surrender, faith, flow, trust model. We've learned more self-love. We've been working on our boundaries for what seems like it's forever. And now it's time to allow those things to come together. But this is no small job that we're doing. And I think we need to acknowledge that and be tender with ourselves
Mhm.
through the exhaustion and understand that it's actually proof positive that the shift is occurring. Because if it
Mhm.
wasn't, we wouldn't be feeling like this at all.
That's wonderful, Shelley. That's a great understanding. And to really reflect that how far we've come.
Yeah.
Like the work has not been in vain. It's like there's so much
Yeah.
that's already been accomplished.
Yeah.
But we're getting to the good part, y'all. It's like we reached the peak and it's gonna flatten out so that we can enjoy all the climbing that we've been doing for such a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Shelley, it's always wonderful to be here with you. Thank you so much. And again, the care and the thought and the energy that you and Gabriel put into the special offers, it's it always just it's I get overwhelming gratitude in the way that you show up and care so
Oh,
much. So thank you for that.
thank you so much. I love doing your show. It's always a delight to connect with you and your audience. It's a gift. So thank you so much.
And I was missing Gabriel too. So it's like it's
Yeah,
Gabriel and we have a relationship.
yeah, I know. You're in cahoots with them, I know.
Thank you, Shelley, so much. And thank you all for being on the call. Thank you all watching on the replay and being part of the collective of what is showing up here today. And with that, I just bow down to each and every one of you and namaste and look forward to seeing you all on the next call. Bye, everybody.